Okay, for this screencast, I will be reviewing the framework called Corona SDK, which I decided to use for the week 3 and 4 project. Um, Alright, let's get started here. The first file I'm going to take a look at is the main.lua file. Um, this is mainly to set, it's kind of it's what loads when you first start the Corona SDK, and basically to get to the other scenes, to load the other scenes from this file. But you don't really go back to this main.lua file. All right, so a couple of variables set here. Um, One is to require the storyboard. Um, the storyboard is basically the way that you can um, load or go to another scene. So you have to require that. I have a widget here, which I will talk about in a second, and the display.set status bar, display.hidden status bar there as well for status bar on iPhone and Android devices. And I have a BG, a background variable set here to an image that's located within the root of my project. Alright, there's also some commented code here, some variables for getting the GPS location, as well as the camera. So I have some things for the technologies that we needed to add to the projects just to show that they were working. Alright, so back to the code here. I have a function here for a button tapped, and I also have a do buttons function. The do buttons, it has the code here for one local variable set for the load button, which has a start game label. Well, the load button is a widget which we declared up here, and there's also parameters, which is the label start game and the label color as far as the text for that button or widget. And then there's also an on release event here, which calls the button tapped function. Alright, and then there's also the X and Y of the button just to locate it in the center of the screen. And then, yeah, so once you tap the start game, it will call this code to storyboard.go-to-scene level 1, and that'll load this level 1.lua file, which we will discuss. But let's see. Here is that main.lua file and the button widget here to actually start the game. Alright, so let's go to the level 1.lua. In this file, it's pretty much where all the code lives. You still have to require the storyboard, but you also have to create a new scene off of that storyboard for this level 1 that's loaded. There's also a widget here, physics. You start the physics there as well. Then a couple of other variables for the background, the ball and hole, as well as a reload button here that will be included in the display. Alright, there's a function here for button tapped. That's for the reload button. So click the reload button, then it should remove the scene and reload it. And then there's a couple of things that's incorporated in the storyboard that you have to use. There's 4 functions. One is the create scene, the other is the enter scene, and then you have the exit and the destroy scene. The create scene is where you're going to load all of your graphics for what's going to be displayed. So here I have the background, the ball and its position on the screen, as well as 2 holes in their position on the screen. So the object of the game is to avoid the holes, which are going to be moving around the screen, and the player, which is the ball, you can this moves wherever you touch, wherever the user touches on the screen to avoid the holes. And if they collide, then the ball will fall into the hole. All right. So the inner scene is where you're gonna basically have all the meat of that code for the functionality. So we've set up our graphics here. Now we set up a touch event. If event.phase equals ended, then transition to ball, and the time is set there, as well as the event.x and event.y. And then there's the add event listener for the touch screens. And you also have the move hole function. This code here sets the holes to move for hole 1 and hole 2. The time there, and it sets to a random position for both. And yeah, on complete, that calls the move hole function over to keep those in rotation there. And yeah, then there's the exit scene and destroy scene, which I don't have any code for this particular game. Let's see here. All right, and then as far as the collisions, we have the function on collision event. So when there's a collision between the ball and a hole, the ball will remove itself. So it calls the built-in remove self function. And if the holes collide with each other, then there's no action, but only the ball and the hole collision. And then there's the event listener for the collisions. And then you also have to have the event listeners for the different function there for the scene or storyboard. And that returns the scene. And let's view the simulator here as far as how this all works. Let's reload it. Alright, so there's the start game. You click that, and there's the 2 holes. You try to avoid those, and you can see when they collide, the ball disappears. And then there's the reload button here. And yep, that's the object of the game. Stay away from the holes as best you can. Alright. And that concludes my screencast here.